Welcome to Truth Report, the program that cuts through the noise to expose the inconvenient truths shaping our world. Tonight, we navigate a labyrinth of escalating conflicts, state repression, and the chilling silence imposed on those who dare to report it.
From journalists jailed for simply doing their jobs near a critical NATO base, to the devastating human cost of missile strikes across the Middle East, and the brutal crackdowns on dissent in contested territories, the patterns are undeniable. We're witnessing a global landscape increasingly defined by power grabs and suppressed freedoms.
We'll expose how governments, under the guise of national security, are tightening their grip on information, silencing the very voices meant to hold them accountable. This isn't just about isolated incidents, it's a systematic assault on transparency and human dignity.
As the drums of war beat louder, the truth becomes the first casualty. But here, on Truth Report, we refuse to let it die. We will connect the dots, reveal the beneficiaries, and shine a light on the shadowy forces that profit from chaos and control.
Join us as we strip away the official narratives and confront the uncomfortable realities. This is Truth Report, and we're just getting started. Our first story takes us to Turkey, a NATO member, where the fundamental right to report is being actively dismantled. According to the South China Morning Post, 3 journalists from Turkey's independent Enka news agency have been arrested, then jailed, simply for filming near the Incirlik airbase in southern Turkey.
This is not just any airbase, Alex. Incirlik has hosted U.S. troops for decades and is a critical NATO strategic asset. The Turkish Journalists Union, TGS, has rightly demanded their immediate release, highlighting the escalating crackdown on press freedom under the current government.
The timing of these arrests is particularly concerning. The footage was reportedly shot as Israel and the U.S. began striking Iran, with Iran retaliating against Gulf states hosting U.S. bases. In this hypersensitive geopolitical climate, restricting journalists from documenting events near such a crucial military installation smacks of deliberate censorship.
Indeed. This isn't about protecting national security, it's about controlling the narrative. By preventing independent journalists from reporting on troop movements or activities near Incirlik, the Turkish state, potentially at the behest of its allies, aims to manage public perception and suppress any information that might complicate their geopolitical maneuvering.
Who benefits from this? Clearly, the Turkish government, which gains more control over public information and international perception. But also, the US and NATO, who prefer to operate with minimal scrutiny, especially during heightened regional tensions involving Iran. The less independent reporting, the fewer inconvenient questions asked.
And who loses? The Turkish people, first and foremost, are deprived of unbiased information about crucial events occurring on their own soil. Beyond that, it's a profound loss for global press freedom and the very principles of transparency that democracies are supposed to uphold. This sets a dangerous precedent for allied nations.
This incident at Incirlik is a stark reminder of how easily national security can be weaponized against a free press. When governments deem specific locations or events too sensitive, it often signals an attempt to conceal actions or implications that would face public opposition if fully exposed.
It reflects a broader power structure where the state prioritizes geopolitical alliances and military operations over democratic accountability. The jailing of these journalists isn't an isolated event, it's a symptom of a creeping authoritarianism that seeks to control information flow to maintain power and manage international relations without public oversight. Shifting our focus to the direct consequences of regional instability, we turn to Israel, where an Iranian strike on Beit Shemesh has tragically claimed lives. Al Jazeera reports that at least 9 people were killed and 20 others injured in this devastating missile attack.
This strike, confirmed by Megan David Adam, is a chilling escalation in the direct confrontation between Iran and Israel. It underscores the horrific reality of civilian populations caught in the crossfire of a deeply entrenched geopolitical rivalry. 9 lives extinguished, 20 more irrevocably altered.
The immediate impact is, of course, the immense human suffering. But beyond the immediate casualties, these attacks sow widespread fear and instability, forcing civilians to live under constant threat. It is a stark illustration of how proxy conflicts have now morphed into direct, lethal engagements.
This tragedy serves the interests of hardliners on both sides. In Israel, it solidifies the narrative of an existential threat, potentially justifying further retaliatory measures. In Iran, it allows the regime to project strength and commitment to its regional agenda, rallying its base amidst domestic challenges.
The true losers are, once again, the civilians and the prospects for peace in the region. The cycle of violence deepens, making diplomatic solutions seem increasingly remote. Each strike fuels the next, ensuring a perpetual state of conflict that benefits only those who profit from war.
This continuous escalation also plays directly into the hands of the global military-industrial complex. With each missile fired, each life lost, the demand for advanced weaponry and defense systems surges. Billions are spent on instruments of war, while the fundamental causes of conflict remain unaddressed.
The broader power structure at play here is a dangerous dance between regional hegemons, each vying for dominance and security at the expense of human lives. The international community's failure to effectively de-escalate these tensions has created a vacuum, allowing this destructive tit-for-tat to spiral into open warfare with devastating consequences for ordinary people.
In a move that intensifies the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the West Bank, Israel has closed the Rafah crossing and all other checkpoints. Middle East Eye reports this blanket closure, effectively sealing off already besieged populations.
This isn't just a border control measure, it's a collective punishment, Alex. The closure of Rafah, the sole lifeline for so many Palestinians, means essential aid, food, medicine, fuel, is blocked. It prevents critically ill patients from seeking treatment outside, trapping them in a collapsing healthcare system.
The human cost of this decision is immediate and catastrophic. With Gaza already on the brink of famine and its infrastructure decimated, this closure exacerbates suffering, pushing millions further into despair. It's an act of extreme leverage, using civilian lives as bargaining chips in a broader conflict.
Who benefits from such a draconian measure? Primarily, the Israeli government, which seeks to exert maximum pressure and control over the Palestinian population. It reinforces their security narrative, however flimsy, and demonstrates an unwavering capacity to dictate the terms of survival for those under occupation.
And the losers are undeniably the Palestinian people, who face starvation, disease, and the systematic denial of basic human rights. Humanitarian organizations also lose, as their ability to provide critical relief is completely obstructed, turning them into helpless observers of an unfolding tragedy.
This is a clear manifestation of an occupying power using its absolute control over borders and movement as a weapon of war. It highlights the deeply entrenched power imbalance and the systematic dehumanization that allows such policies to be implemented without significant international repercussion.
The international community's muted response to these recurring closures reveals a disturbing complicity. By failing to condemn and act decisively, global powers allow Israel to continue its policies of strangulation, effectively endorsing a system that systematically deprives millions of their fundamental rights and pushes them closer to the brink.
The reach of these conflicts extends far beyond the immediate belligerents. Al Jazeera video footage shows smoke rising above Doha, the capital of Qatar, after Iranian missiles were reportedly shot down by defense systems. Loud explosions were heard across the city.
This incident in Qatar is a stark illustration of how regional conflicts bleed into countries attempting to maintain neutrality, or at least a stable economic presence. While the missiles were intercepted, the psychological impact on the population and the message of vulnerability are profound.
Qatar, a key U.S. ally and host to the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East, Al Udeid, now finds itself directly in the line of fire. This incident underscores the precarious balance Gulf states must maintain, caught between regional rivalries and their strategic alliances with Western powers.
Who benefits from such a strike, even if intercepted? Iran, which demonstrates its capacity to project power and threaten regional stability, sending a clear message to its adversaries and their allies. It's a dangerous game of signaling intent without necessarily aiming for widespread destruction.
And who loses? Qatar, which sees its neutrality compromised and its stability threatened. Its economy, heavily reliant on foreign investment and perceived security, could suffer. More broadly, the region loses any remaining semblance of stability, pushing it closer to a wider, more devastating war.
This also greatly benefits the global arms industry. The repeated interception of missiles, whether by U.S.-supplied Patriot systems or other advanced defenses, creates an immediate surge in demand for such technologies. Billions will be spent by Gulf states scrambling to upgrade their air defense capabilities, funneling immense wealth into military contractors.
This incident lays bare the intricate web of alliances and antagonisms that define the Gulf's geopolitical landscape. The U.S. military footprint in the region, while intended to deter aggression, also inevitably draws its host nations into the crosshairs of its adversaries, making them strategic targets rather than neutral ground.
Finally, we turn our attention to Kashmir, a region long plagued by conflict and human rights abuses. Middle East Eye reports a significant crackdown by Indian authorities on tens of thousands of people protesting and mourning in India-controlled Kashmir.
This mass protest and subsequent crackdown are symptoms of a deeper, unresolved historical injustice. The Kashmiri people have long sought self-determination, and their voices are consistently met with state-sponsored violence and systematic suppression, particularly since the revocation of Article 370.
The imagery of tens of thousands mourning and protesting, only to be met with force, paints a grim picture. It highlights India's continued strategy of militarization and control over the disputed territory, effectively stifling any form of dissent or public expression of grievance.
Who benefits from this relentless crackdown? The Indian government, which maintains its iron grip on Kashmir, reinforcing its narrative of territorial integrity and suppressing any challenge to its authority. The security apparatus also benefits, with expanded powers and budgets.
Conversely, the Kashmiri people are the profound losers, subjected to constant surveillance, arbitrary arrests, and the denial of basic human rights. Their calls for justice and self-determination are systematically ignored, leading to a perpetual cycle of resentment and resistance.
This situation exposes the brutal reality of state-sponsored violence against a population seeking to reclaim its agency. It's a classic example of a powerful state leveraging nationalist sentiment and military force to maintain control over a contested region, often with severe human rights implications.
And the international community's response, or lack thereof, is equally damning. The world largely remains silent, prioritizing geopolitical allegiances and economic ties with India over the human rights plight of Kashmiris. This selective outrage allows powerful nations to act with impunity, normalizing state oppression.
The deeper implication here is the dangerous precedent it sets, that a powerful nation can effectively annex and brutalize a population without significant global accountability. It underscores the failure of international bodies to uphold human rights universally, particularly when geopolitical interests are at stake. Alex, looking across these 5 stories, a chilling pattern emerges. We see a world where conflict is not just escalating, but where the very mechanisms designed to report on it, to alleviate its suffering, and to hold power accountable, are systematically being dismantled.
Exactly, Maya. From the jailing of journalists in Turkey near a NATO base to the closure of crucial lifelines in Gaza, and the brutal suppression of protests in Kashmir, the common thread is the deliberate strangulation of information and human agency by powerful state actors.
The Iranian missile strikes on Israel and Qatar, while distinct, reveal how regional power plays are increasingly directly impacting civilian populations and non-belligerent nations. These aren't isolated skirmishes, they are interconnected nodes in a rapidly expanding web of conflict.
And who benefits? The usual suspects, governments intent on controlling narratives, the military-industrial complex raking in billions from arms sales and defense contracts, and hardline factions on all sides who thrive on perpetual conflict. They profit from the chaos, the fear, and the manufactured divisions.
The consistent losers are the truth, independent journalism, press freedom, and, most tragically, the civilian populations caught in the crossfire. Their voices are silenced, their movements restricted, their lives destroyed, all while the architects of conflict consolidate their power.
This is not merely war news, Maya. This is a global truth emergency. It's an urgent call to recognize that the erosion of press freedom in one corner of the world, the blockade of aid in another, and the crackdown on dissent elsewhere, are all facets of the same overarching systemic failure.
The implications are clear: without a robust, independent press, without unwavering international pressure, and without a collective commitment to human rights, these cycles of violence and suppression will only intensify.
We must demand transparency from our governments, hold power accountable, and support the journalists and humanitarian workers who risk everything to bring us the truth. Their struggle is our struggle.
The truth is not a commodity, it's a right. And here on Truth Report, we will continue to fight for it, no matter the cost.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.